Now, and let's get started. Welcome, everybody, to this Greek University webinar with some amazing women authors here to tell you about their chapters in our new book specifically made for sorority members. I'm Dr. Mike Ayalon, and today we're diving into a very important and inspiring topic. It's Women's History Month. Every March, we take time to celebrate the incredible contributions of women throughout history, the trailblazers, the changemakers, and the leaders who have paved the way in every field imaginable. But Women's History Month isn't just about looking back, it's about recognizing the ongoing fight for equality, for representation, and empowerment today. For those of us who are in fraternity and sorority life, this month holds a special significance. Our organizations were founded on the principles of leadership, service, and personal growth, values that have empowered generations of women to break barriers, to shatter glass ceilings, and create lasting impact. Whether it's the first women's sororities providing access to higher education and leadership opportunities, or today's collegiate members driving advocacy and change on college campuses, our community has played a pivotal role in advancing women's rights and opportunities. So today, we're going to explore how we, as students, administrators, and staff from the fraternity and sorority community, can uplift and support women in our organizations and beyond, and how we can carry the spirit of this month forward in our everyday lives. Whether you're a leader in your chapter, an ally, or someone who wants to make a difference, this conversation is for you. We have many of our authors here with us today, the women of Greek University, for our new book. It's called From Letters to Leaders. I'm so beautiful. It's ridiculous. Unleashing and promoting strength, self-worth, and real sisterhood. So let's get started. The introduction in the book is something that I put together. It's called The Journey Begins, Embracing the Sisterhood and Your Potential. First, I take a moment to congratulate all of the students who decided to join a sorority on their campus as one of the best decisions of their lives. While we are all very privileged to be at an institution of higher learning, we also have an obligation to lift others up in our community with us. And we certainly have in sorority life. It goes all the way back to 1851. Alpha Delta Pi was founded and is considered the oldest secret society for women in the world. By 1870, Kappa Alpha Theta was founded as the first women's Greek letter fraternity, now referred to as a sorority, of course. And then soon thereafter came Kappa Kappa Gamma, Alpha Phi, Delta Gamma, Gamma Phi Beta, and Sigma Kappa. And we also have to talk about NPHC as well. Ethel Hedgeman Lyle, a junior at Howard University, returned from the summer of 1907 and was inspired in terms of an idea of creating an African American sorority. 9 young women came together to create Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority in January of 1908. Just incredible. And I think about that legacy, which is just tremendous, absolutely tremendous. And also, I would also say there was a rift that started in 1912 between the undergraduates who wanted to change the name, the motto, the color, and symbols of the sorority, and the loyal graduate members. And this dissident undergraduate group, they left the organization to create Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Then came Zeta Phi Beta sorority, Sigma Gamma Rho, and on and on and on. And all of this later created to help form today's Divine Nine organizations. So I think about how we can all work together to ensure that sororities endure for the next 150 years. These organizations provide value to their members in terms of higher earnings, higher jobs, lower unemployment, critical thinking, problem solving skills, and a broader perspective from diverse members, even better health outcomes and a bigger network for career success, not to mention the higher retention rates and graduation rates on college campuses today. And the biggest one for me is love and belonging. That is Maslow's hierarchy, something that everybody needs in order to actualize their lifetime goals. So I would encourage to everybody who's listening to this right now, write down what you hope to achieve in your lifetime of membership in your sorority. I want you to share that with other members. Your organization is a powerful network of women who are committed to supporting each other's potential and your success in life. And we need that support from each other now more than ever. All right, so let's talk to some of our women authors. Professor Tish, you want to kick us off today?
I would love to. And how amazing is that introduction? Thank you so much for that. For those people who are watching either live or those people who are watching this replay, Dr. A, look, I'm gonna call him Dr. A. I always call, the abbreviation. So Dr. A really laid out a snapshot of just a little bit of the impact that these organizations have had, not just on campus life in the United States, but on the affairs of women and how women bonded together and forged community and found almost a respite, found a resting place and a support system in what would be, in many cases, a very patriarchal society and culture, even on the college campuses. And so he gave a great introduction there because here's the cool thing about this book, everybody. It's not just specifically for sorority women or those who are affiliated. The authors are not just all sorority women or affiliated, nor is this book giving away secret codes and all the rituals and things like that. It is for the layperson to read as well as those people who are affiliated. Anytime I can give a speech at a conference and the wait staff that is cleaning up the ballroom and clearing tables comes up to me afterwards and says, "Wow, Miss Norman, that was amazing. I know I'm not here for the conference. I just work here, but I really got something from your speech." That is a testament that our words as speakers really transcend community. So it's not just particularly for a group. I think everyone can benefit from that. So, peace, everybody. We're so glad you're here. My name is Miss Tish Norman, but as you can see right there in the corner, I go by Professor Tish. You can hear me each and every Friday on Atlanta's classic hip hop station, OG 97.9, Atlanta's classic hip hop with the Grade A Club. When I'm not on stage, I'm on the radio. And when I'm not on the radio, I'm in the classroom, like where I am now. So I got different hats that we wear. And so let me say this as the first person who's going to jump in and really talk about this chapter and talk about what the theme of the book is. I want to say shout out to us because it was this time last year, you guys, that we did a Women's History Month celebration. And it went so well. We were so inspired at the end of it. We were like, wait a minute, this is feeling too good here. And I said, y'all, what if we just wrote a book? What if we wrote a book? And look, Erica Music had that same facial expression on her face. And look at us, you guys, a year later. Not only are we back reconvening with this same community, but we're reconvening with the book. Come on, where's the book, Mike? Where's the book? Yes. And look, as to an ode to the book, I wore my pink today because pink is just the ultimate celebration of femininity. And so we're just so excited that a thought, right? And then an action became now a product. And it's a product that will live on for years and years and years. So people like yourselves and many others can find inspiration from it and then share it with friends. So I had fun writing my chapter, you guys. I just had so much fun. This is really different than any of the other letters to leaders book because I want to say it's FUBU, right? For us, by us, meaning the ladies. We did have our captain of the ship, Mike, who really kind of set the tone for this book. But other than that, the ladies came in and we spoke from our hearts. And so, me, guys, being the person that's very creative, being the person that is not just an auditory, vision, or kinesthetic learner, I'm all three mixed into one. I wanted to make my chapter very interactive. So, you're going to find aspects of my chapter where I introduce what I'm talking about. So you'll have the content there, and it's very conversational. It's not lecture, it's not historical, it's not like you're reading a history book. It's me talking to you, like, "Hey, girl, what's up?" Like, "Hey, girl, hey." My chapter is very conversational, and one of the cool features about my chapter is that each section has an introduction of what I talk about. And then there's a space for you to reflect on what I wrote and for you to really write down some thoughts. If you're like me, you're an active reader. Y'all, you open a book, I got notes in the margins, I got notes at the bottom, I got little arrows, I got smiley faces, I got LOLs. I'm a very active reader. That's how I retain the information. And so I wrote with that in mind. And so there are sections in my chapter where you can do, a reflection so you can let yourself know and release how you're feeling in that moment. I also ended each one of my sections with a quote. And my quotes are all from very famous and prominent women. Everybody from Beyonce to Rosa Parks. Okay. So it's all of these different elements and aspects that really makes my chapter jump off the pages. I also am going to do a call to action. I'm going to provide you with steps so that you guys can write down and read exactly what I want you to do. I can't tell you the what without telling you how. So I'm going to give you steps on what you can do. And here's one of my really fun aspects or features, I should say, from my chapter. I have affirmations in my book. I keep saying my book. See, I'm prophetically speaking. Prophetically speaking. But in my chapter, I have just a list of affirmations. And I don't know if anybody on here has subscribed to this app, but I have an app on my phone called I Am. The I Am affirmations? Is anybody familiar with that on here? Yeah, a couple people. Well, my I Am affirmations, I have it set to notify me multiple times a day. And you'll get different affirmations that come up on your phone that when you're going throughout your day and your stinking thinking tries to get into your mind and get you off track, these I am affirmations just pop up randomly throughout the day. So I'm a firm believer in affirmations. So all up and through my chapter, I have a list of affirmations that you can commit to memory, that you can go and flip back and put a bookmark in, or you see I live and die by post-it notes. You can put some post-it notes in there and access those affirmations whenever you need them. And so those affirmations, some of them begin with I am. Some of them begin with may I, as in allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to feel, think, and do. And then finally, one of the really cool aspects of my chapter is I have a graphic in my chapter that I made myself. No Canva here, okay? I made that graphic myself. And here's the cool thing, y'all. It is an all-inclusive graphic. So it has Sanskrit, it has an Adinkra, it has all kinds of cultural symbols that stand for peace, meditation, wellness, and all of those actions that you and I can use and employ to help our days go much better. And our days turns into weeks, our weeks turns into months, and our months turns into years. So I start out with really engaging the reader. It's not just you reading and then 5 minutes later you're going to be asleep. Nope, you better take your pen out when you start reading. I'm so beautiful, it's ridiculous, because it's going to be an active resource. Okay? Is that all right?
Fantastic.
Is that all right, y'all?
Really good stuff. So Tish wrote two chapters in the book. Chapter
Yes.
2 is positive self-talk and affirmations, rewriting your inner dialogue. And then later in chapter 8, she gets into daily mindfulness and meditation, finding calm in chaos. So both of these chapters are just absolutely incredible for all the readers out there. I put a link to the book in the comments, so feel free to go and pick up a copy under $10, so very affordable for anybody to go and pick that up. So thank you so much, Professor Tish. That has been fantastic. We definitely
Listen,
appreciate that. That has been excellent.
absolutely. Nowhere
And
else I'd rather be.
yeah. And also, I think, next I want to go over to Brittany Richmond because she talks about in chapter 3, prioritizing mental health, recognizing the signs and how to talk about them. Brittany, tell us a little bit more about your chapter.
Oh gosh. Well, how much time do you have?
How about 5 minutes?
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm first of all, I'm so honored and grateful to be here among all of you. I'm very honored to be speaking and to you guys, let alone the people who are live and watching the recording. It's never lost on me that, at any point in time, this could be taken away from me, and I am so grateful to be here. It is only by God's grace that I am. So, and by that I mean alive. So my chapter is very much on, you know, like I'm a lot like Professor Tish. Like I really type like I talk. In fact, I wrote a book this past year. I'm very grateful for that too. And that was one of the things I told my publisher, my editor. I was like, do not change the way I talk. Like they had to constantly remind me that this is not a social media post, it's a book. And I was like, okay, but so I really understand that. But that's how I type, and that's how my chapter is going to come across. Because much like she said, like some of the my favorite books I've ever read on the personal and professional development realm are the ones that feel like I'm having a conversation with the author. When I feel like this message is for me, it's going to hit different. And I really wanted to be sure to do that in this chapter as well. And I also want to be clear, I know this book is written by women for women, but it's also for men. Like my chapter is definitely for men also. I have delivered this exact talk to fraternities and honestly get better response than I go to when I do to sororities. And I don't really know why, but I'm here for it because I feel like it's particularly men are not given the tools that I feel like they just don't talk about as often. And so to have someone give them the tools, I think is really powerful that they use them. But yeah, so we're here to talk about this chapter for women though. And my college years were some of the worst years of my life. And it doesn't mean being Greek was some of the worst years of my life. That's not what I'm saying. I really do feel like there's such an opportunity for people. They're surrounded by so much love and support, and they don't take advantage of it in the moment. They don't recognize it in the moment till they get out of it and they get in life and they're like, oh my God, I have no one. I really am alone. Or I don't have the resources like I feel like I had. Or I was surrounded by all different types of personalities and they all adhered to different aspects of my personality and I was able to connect on different levels. And now it's just me going to work. Like, yikes, like it's just like we've lost that very support system that we are around, every Monday at chapter or, every Tuesday or whatever, you have these opportunities. So I look back and I get really frustrated with myself that my sisters tried to reach out in their own way or they didn't reach out and I felt like they should. And I don't blame them for the record because I do feel like we're just not really told how. So I did some digging and I found out that like, I ask audiences, I'm like, I give them a scenario like, oh, you're walking down the hall and you see someone drop books and you're like, would you stop and help pick them up? And everyone's like, yeah, I absolutely would. And I'm like, well, the research actually shows that you wouldn't. It actually shows that you want to, but you don't because you either don't want people to see you do it, you don't want to be judged because of how they feel about this person, or there's a lot of different reasons why we don't help people even though we want to. And one of the reasons is we simply just don't know how to help them. So my chapter is all about taking that kind of pressure off. So it's not just for the person who struggles with their mental health, it's for the person who doesn't. Because I think that's the missing piece there is we often talk to people about how to support their mental health, but let's talk to the other person who wants to be the supporter but doesn't know how. They don't know how to hold space. They don't know how to create space. They don't know how to solve the problem. They feel a lot of pressure to fix it. Like there's a lot of this pressure that no one's asking of you, right? And that's the pressure I want to take off someone and that's the tools you learn in my chapter is how to have very simple non-intrusive conversations that open doors and create and hold spaces. So it's for the person who struggles mentally and emotionally, but it's also for the person who doesn't, because we have to talk to both. It's a relationship because statistically, 1 in 3 college students will suffer with clinical anxiety or depression. That's a high statistic, but that also implies that some won't. So we have to talk to both of those people in order to strengthen emotional and mental health. And yeah, so my chapter is very raw. It's very open. I was a 2-time college dropout because of my anxiety and how you kind of course correct with all of that too, and the pressure that it can put on you to do that. But I think there's such a unique opportunity with Greek life that that is just so amazing. And something I address in my chapters too, that I actually just spoke to a fraternity about recently, was there are people struggling in your chapter and you have no idea. And that's just because, that's the whole Breakfast Club thing that I talk about in my chapter. It's a huge part of my book. It's a huge part of my talk. The Breakfast Club is one of the greatest movies ever, ever, because every single one of them struggle with the same things, but nobody knew that, right? Nobody knew that. They only knew what they thought they knew, right? Oh, you have money, or oh, you're this, or you're really quiet, or you're a nerd. You only know certain things about people, but in reality, we're all struggling with the same stuff because it doesn't discriminate from gender, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, none of that. None of that. Mental health doesn't care about any of that. It just is like, hey, we're just gonna be a thing. And so I want to make sure that people recognize that too. And I know this to be true because again, fraternities are very interesting. I get emails all the time and they tell me their whole story because they just feel safe. And I'm like, nobody knows that, and with women, it's more like I see a friend who's struggling, and I really want to help this person, so it's a very interesting dynamic. But imagine if they came together, right? Like imagine if we were to be able to hold and create space, because we only end the stigma by talking about how we feel. And coming from a former counselor, I can tell you that one of the things we do is we teach coping skills, how to do this, how to talk to yourself, self-talk, self-care, all the things. But what we don't talk about is we actually have to open our mouth first. Otherwise, we can't get to the coping skills. So that's what I specialize in, is how do I get you to open your mouth? How do I get you to create and hold space for other people, but also actively listen? Be the partner that helps people unburden themselves of how they feel, because the more you talk about how you feel, the less power it has over you. So yeah, that's a little bit about my chapter. I could talk about it
Amazing.
forever.
Amazing.
Passionate. So
Thank you so much, Brittany. We are so blessed that you're a part of the team and that you were able to help write this chapter on prioritizing mental health, recognizing the signs and how to talk about them. Super important. And I'm just so happy that you got to be a part of this publication. It's just critical information. So thank you. Thank you so much. And so for our next one up, we have Erica Music. Erica was talking about leaning on your sisters, the power of community and friendship. Tell us more about that, Erica.
Well, all right. Well, hey everyone. I did my presentation a little different, so I actually have slides.
Oh wow, look at that.
You
All right. Well,
overachiever,
let's
you.
enable you to share some slides then. All right,
Sure.
go for it.
Yeah, let me share my screen. Give me
All
just
right.
a minute. All right, can everybody see?
We
We
can.
can.
Awesome. All right, so here we do. So I just kind of wanted to give a little background about myself. So I kind of put it all into one. But there's me in the middle with my babies. I am the assistant director for Campbellsville University School of Chiropractic. So I'm the assistant director of recruitment and admissions here. I am a mother of two. I have my 22-year-old daughter that just graduated from University of Kentucky, and I have my 18-year-old son that just signed to run track for the University of Kentucky. He's a senior in high school. So those are my big kudos that are going on, my big changes that are going on in my life, because I'm about to be an empty nester uh, within a matter of months. So big pat on myself and back, pat on my back for that. But a little bit about me. I'm one of those that are not affiliated. So my sisterhood comes from the athletic side. As you can see, I have three pictures on there. I used to be a Tennessee Titans cheerleader for 3 seasons. Was also a college dropout. So when I went to college, I went to college for athletics, and I had a track scholarship, and I ended up dropping out of college. Life happened, had kids, got married, and I ended up going back to college to finish my degree. And I finished my bachelor's at Midway University in 2017. So yay for me. And right now I'm also currently getting my master's degree. Another cool thing about me, on Sundays, I play flag football, so I still have the competitive side that are still going on. It keeps me active. I'm really big into manifestation, just like Professor Tish. I do that every year, pretty much actually twice a year. I do it every 6 months because I like to do my little check-ins to make sure I'm still on track to what I like to do. And I'm really big on manifestation and words of affirmation. And also, I have my little Charlie. He is a 1 year old mini poodle that keeps me cuddles with me at night, so he keeps me nice and cozy. But all in all, this fiery sign that you see, I'm an Aries, all in all, through and through. So that's a little bit about my history of where I come from. But I wanted to give a quote because, like I said, I talk a little bit about sisterhood and why it's so important to have certain characteristics. So I found this quote that talks about sisterhood. The strength of sisterhood means my secret is safe, my successes are celebrated, and I am seen as a collaborator because my sister recognizes that we can go further together. So I kind of broke down what I thought were four top characteristics that I feel that you should find in other, or qualities that you should find in other people that you should create and have in your circle or trust in your army. Because at the end of the day, we are not successful by ourselves. We have to have other people with us to collaborate with that. So the first thing that I would like to say, that the first person that you would need, or characteristic or quality that you need to have with you, is somebody that is going to comfort you. Now, this is a person that might be a close friend who actively listens to your problems without judgment, offers a shoulder to cry on, validates your feelings, and provides practical support like bringing over a meal or helping with errands when you're going through a tough time. Now, essentially, someone who makes you feel understood and less a long time when you're going through difficult situations. Your comforter could be someone like for me, it's my best friend. My best friend is somebody that comforts me. And sometimes it can also be a coworker. So it's also could be someone that you confide in, someone that you could be vulnerable to, someone that is listening, that can give you reassuring words like, I'm here for you. You're not alone. We can get through this together. Also, it can be someone that just knows what you need without you even saying anything. Let's know if you're going through a bad day. They know that they're not going to leave you alone, and they'll go run errands for you, go run and get you some cereal, or like when I'm going through a bad day, my best friend knows to bring me a bag of Twizzlers and some butter pecan ice cream, and we can sit there and watch TV all day and laugh about some things. So that's somebody that I know that I can vent to, that's non-judgmental, that I have in my corner, that I know that it's always going to be there. So that's one characteristic that I know that's really good. The next characteristic that I have, that a quality that you need, is someone that's going to confront you or that's going to challenge you. So an example of a person that challenges you could be a person who frequently questions assumptions, prompts deeper discussions, new perspectives on a topic. They actively seek out different viewpoints and aren't afraid to disagree respectfully. But they push you to critically examine your own ideas and thoughts. So this can be someone that is your mentor or sponsor. And I would like to clarify, a mentor and a sponsor are two different things. A mentor is someone that has like high standards, and they're going to, seek different ways to constantly improve you and give you feedback. But a sponsor is someone that's going to get you through the door and sit you at the table of the people that makes changes and get you through. So that's the difference that I feel is the difference between a mentor and a sponsor. Someone else that can be classified as a challenger is someone that, maybe you're competitive like I am. Someone that pushes you, that wants to push you, to match your skills and your strategies. I'm a big competitor. Honey, I will compete against anything and everyone because I just feel like I'm the best at everything. I don't know, it's my Aries trait. But so I always like somebody that is willing to push me and that's going to challenge me. Other characteristics of a challenging person is someone with critical thinking skills. They analyze information thoroughly. They're not afraid to question or establish your beliefs. They welcome diverse perspectives and are willing to consider different viewpoints. And lastly, they express their opinions confidently, and they're not afraid to differ from yours. So the next thing, as we've already kind of discussed before, that I highly use every other week is a counselor, because where would I be without therapy to get through all these childhood traumas, right? So a counselor is good who provides a safe space to discuss your emotions and help you work through challenges. In 2023, we found out that 28.5% of U.S. women receive mental health treatment or counseling, which includes therapy. This is almost the double rate of men. So women, we carry a lot of stress and a lot of burden on our shoulders, which is probably why our neck and our back hurts all the time. But we also need, instead of carrying all of that, we also need to express those things and get those out. Because if we don't deal with our trauma at 18 or 20, you will definitely deal with it at 42. Let's just go ahead and put that out there. But it's just a little few more statistics. People between the ages of 18 and 44 are more likely to receive counseling or therapy than older adults. White adults are more likely to receive mental health treatments than other races or ethnicities. People with lower social economic status are more likely to experience mental disorders, but they're more likely to not receive treatment. So some of the common treatments that we like that you can get help for therapy is anxiety, which we've already discussed, depression, and stress, which can hit you at all types of life. So make sure that we're getting that counseling help that we need. Make sure that you are taking care of you. And lastly, you need somebody that's going to celebrate you, right? A celebrator is an example of a celebrator is someone like a close friend that acknowledges and expresses the enthusiasm of your achievements and your acknowledgments, no matter how big or small, but they offer support and encouragement. And so even when you're facing challenges and things like that. So a supportive friend or coworker is someone that can throw you a big party when you land a big internship or you're going to go study abroad, someone that praises you on social media. It could be your mom and your dad, once you graduate college or, you get your first job, they throw you a big party or give you a cake or however to celebrate that. It could be a partner, whether it be male or female. You need somebody, your partner, to be there to support you through your personal obstacles, so your personal things that you want to talk about. And it can also be your mentor. Your celebrator, obviously, it should be your mentor or your sponsor because they're the one that's going to push you to the next level. So those are the few things, those are the four characteristics that I discussed in my book, in my chapter. Look, I'm trying to be like Professor Tiss. I'm trying to get my book out, but my chapter, but my lastly, and last but not least, I wanted to leave with a little thing saying that this is a marathon and not a sprint. This is something that I always have to remind myself because I'm always going like this and I never find time to slow down. So slow down, take your rest, and know that this is a marathon and not a sprint. But three things I wanted to leave everyone with is that you're not as bad as you think. Keep trusting your instincts. Two, ask for help. We cannot do it alone. I cannot express that enough. It takes a village. It takes an army. It takes a circle. It takes everybody in order to get from one place to the next. So don't think that you can do it alone. And you are your greatest asset. Never forget that be authentically you. There's no one else like you out there. So just continue to be yourself. So that's pretty much my chapter.
Fantastic. Well done, Erica. Hers is chapter 5, Leaning on Your Sisters, the Power of Community and Friendship. Thank you so much, Erica. That was amazing. We appreciate that. And next up is Maria Maldonado Smith. She actually did 2 chapters in our book. Chapter 9, Rising Strong, Cultivating a Resilience Building Growth Mindset. And also chapter 13, Leadership and Personal Growth, Leading with Purpose. So, Maria, tell us more about your chapters.
Hi. So my first chapter, first of all, I'll explain a little bit about who I am and what it is that I do. Spent 17 years in a corporate career, 11 of those in sales, all in a sales role, in a sales role, 11 of those in sales leadership and leadership or enablement, and moved 3 times in less than 8 years with my corporate company. So definitely relocated a lot for those roles. And then in 2021 had significant change of heart and decided to follow a different path and passion and course. And I started my own consulting firm. So since 2021, I have engaged with and worked with over 50 companies, everyone from nonprofit organizations to large corporations like the U.S. House, well, government entities. Worked with the U.S. House of Representatives, Disney, Paramount. I've worked with Medtronic. I was actually trying to figure out who all they were because it was like, oh my gosh, they're just I can see all of their icons on my client page. But Silgan Plastics, Medtronic, Constellation Brands, Cigna, the cities of Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, Seattle, several cities in Virginia, Wisconsin. So I just get kind of contracted out to work with them. And I get to talk about what it is that I love to talk about every day, which is essentially goal setting for corporations, and how this really fits into the fraternity and sorority life is in the Greek life community is the fact that I built all of this when I was when I was learning through leadership is kind of how I position this. When I was in a sorority myself, I went to the University of Kentucky from 2000 to 2004, initiated in Alpha Delta Pi, and so I'm a very proud member of Alpha Delta Pi. And a lot of the leadership skills that I took into my corporate career were learned, or like I said, I fell forward through them and maybe sometimes had to have some difficult conversations as I was developing my skills to become a leader. So my first chapter is really about resilience and how that is built. And it truly is, it's a muscle that we build just like anything else. And unfortunately, raising three children, you realize that the best thing sometimes you can do for them is to let them fail. And so, one thing and I painted both chapters through storytelling because I think that that's very impactful. We remember stories way more than we remember facts. And while I do drop a lot of facts in my workshops, that's what sticks with people. And so the first one is about a man that worked with my mom and I don't even think he had a high school education, but he was the maintenance man on the property where my mother was the manager. She managed properties in Lexington, Kentucky. And he would, whenever I would go to her office after school, he would always ask me what was the one thing I learned that day. And at times I'd get like really annoyed with him because I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I learned today. And he'd be like, oh, no, no, you have to know what you learned today because if you're not learning, then you're not growing, you're not evolving. And so I thought it was interesting because like even though he didn't have a formal education, he still understood the value of continuous learning and learning through some of the day-to-day things that we need in order to build life skills. And so interestingly enough, in a lot of the work that I do now, one of the things I have participants of my workshops do is write a letter to themselves of 2 to 3 things that they learned, plus also like a love letter to themselves. I ask them to encourage themselves. So what were 2 to 3 things that they learned or took away from the workshop? Plus then I want them to put on paper something that they're going to encourage themselves over. And I have them fold it up, put it in an envelope, seal it, and they address it to themselves. They hand it to me, and then I mail it to them within 2 to 3 days. And the reason is because 75% of that information that we're not following up on within a week is lost. And so I think the reason this is crucial is because in order to build resilience, in order to set goals and effectively achieve them, we have to consistently be chasing them. We have to consistently be working on them. Yet 2.8% of Americans write their goals down. So it's a very low number. Less than 1% are actively working on them daily. And so that's essentially what I do in corporations because I work with a lot of high-powered, ambitious, and driven people, just like you would find in the leadership of a sorority or fraternity. They're typically your driven, ambitious people who want to accomplish things, but how much of their time is actually spent writing down and taking the time to think through what it is they want to accomplish or achieve. How are we building culture? How are we building vision if we don't write that vision down? And if we're not actualizing that through being transparent with our sorority and fraternity members? If they don't know what the goal is, they can't accomplish it. They can't help us get there. And so I think at the end of the day, when I was thinking about these chapters, it's like, gosh, when I think about growth and resilience, a lot of it is learning through these things. Like we don't know what we don't know until we do. And then what are we going to do with it? Are we going to take the feedback and run with it? Are we going to hold ourselves accountable and have ownership over that? Or are we going to just, blow it all off and ignore it and continue to stay stagnant and not grow as a person? So my workshops are very interactive, and it's actually having them really like take the time to write out their goals. Like they're writing out their goals and they're using the smarter method, or they're writing out their core values. What are their core values? In corporations a lot, and this is kind of covers both of my chapters because the second chapter is about my relocation and how my first promotion was also tied to a relocation. And I left the place that I had grown up in and had lived for 30 years of my life. And, I got promoted at 29. And so I'd been doing travel by myself back and forth until the family could relocate. And there was a significant pressure put on me because I was the youngest team member in my company to be promoted at that time. They had never hired a manager under the age of 35, honestly, at that point. And so there was a lot of pressure put on me to perform. And so one thing that I did was I had to work through and I had to kind of figure out like how I felt, how I aligned with the company. What was the company's vision and how did that align with mine? What were my core values and how did my core values align with the company's? And so a lot of what I do in corporate space and government space and nonprofit space translates over into fraternity and sorority life because these kids, even though they're 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, they still need to know why they're showing up. Why did they join their fraternity or sorority? Like, what was it about them that drew them to it? When we talk about going home, what does that actually look like? And have we taken the time to write that down? And so I wanted to share just kind of a piece of that through these chapters of this is how we build resilience. This is how we build, this is how we flex that muscle. We got to know what we're learning every day through every experience. And then the second chapter really is just about leadership and developing leadership in a way that it makes sense to us, that is manageable, that is a daily piece of our lives, that we don't have to accomplish a massive goal all in one day or one week. But what are we doing throughout our entire 4 years? If we start out as a freshman, what does that roadmap look like for the next 4 years? So those are my two chapters. Sorry.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much, Maria. We are so glad that you're a part of the Greek University team and you're able to write a couple of chapters for our book. Again, Maria's chapters are Rising Strong, Cultivating a Resilience Building Growth Mindset. That's chapter 9. And then, of course, chapter 13, Leadership and Personal Growth Leading with Purpose. So thank you so much for writing those two chapters. What a gift to
Hey, Mike,
undergraduate students. Yeah,
I jump in real quick before we get
please.
to our next author.
Yeah.
I just want everyone to know, our advisors, and then even those who are watching the replay, this whole book is like a comprehensive, it's like a spa in a book. It really is. It's like a spa in the book. When you go to the spa, you just don't take care of your body, you take care of your mind too. And so this book, from Brittany's topic to Erica's topic to Maria's to mine, all with our resident therapist, Dr. Priscilla. Look, I'm calling you Dr. P, Priscilla. All right, I'm calling you Dr. P. It's coming. That these are all ways that we take care of what. So when I used to live in Louisville, Kentucky, there was a magazine, or maybe it came out in Lexington. It's in the state of Kentucky. I know that. It's called The Total Woman. The Total Woman. Well, or maybe it's called Today's Woman. Either way, my point is this book talks and addresses the total woman. Okay. No matter your background, your walk of life, no matter the challenges you're dealing with, no matter if English isn't your first language, no matter if you're in a wheelchair, no matter if you are living abroad and you are expatriated yourself from the United States, whatever your background is, whatever your situation is, and even as Brittany mentioned, even if it's for men, your men friends, your father, your brother, your uncle, your cousin, whatever, this book addresses multiple aspects and multiple dimensions of who we are. All right. So I just wanted to jump in on that so that we know that it touches your mind, your heart, your soul, your spirit, your body, just all parts of it. All right, that's it. My name's
Beautifully
Tish Farman.
said,
I approve
Professor
this
Tish.
message.
Thank you so much. And of course, our next chapter here is chapter 11 from Jen Ruiz. Jen on a jet plane. We are super happy to have her on the team as well. She wrote a chapter called Thriving in School, Balancing Academic Excellence with Mental Well-Being. Jen, tell us more.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This has been such a wonderful event, and I've enjoyed getting to learn so much from these really accomplished ladies from all walks of life. This chapter was a joy for me to write because I am somebody who was very involved in school. I was vice president of my sorority. I was in Model UN. I was Speaker of the House for Student Government. I was in everything you can possibly think of. I was there on a full scholarship. I had been one of two National Hispanic Merit Scholars in my high school. And so that tendency to overachieve has been something that has stuck with me my whole life. And I can really relate to a lot of the Greek students who I think are that subpopulation, right? Because it's the Greek students that take it upon themselves to be more than just commuters, to actually be involved in the school, to stay after hours, to do so much that isn't compensated, to be at recruitment events till 3 a.m. during rush week, like voting on things, like crazy the amount of commitment that these students have. And because of that, there can be a lot of I think, common pitfalls for an overachiever personality. So for me, since this is something that has, stuck with me, I actually was able to practice law. I became a lawyer at 24. I was barred in 2 states, and I handled over 700 cases before I was 30. And then the year before my 30th birthday, I decided that I wanted to do something different, right? I had spent my whole 20s just working. I had worked all through school. I'd worked all through law school. I'd worked, for a for a felony trial court for a year right after I graduated. I worked with the governor's office doing executive pardons. Like, I had worked 3 jobs throughout law school, trial team competitions that I was doing all over the nation. So I know what it's like to be stretched thin. And I also know what it's like to get somewhere and wonder, like, are these accomplishments actually making me happy? Are they worthwhile? What are all of these degrees that I collected, these trophies that I have? What have I really got to show for that? So as I was approaching my 30th birthday, I decided that I wanted to take a travel challenge because I had spent my whole 20s working and giving to others. I worked in Social Security disability law. I worked in contract law. I worked at Legal Aid, a nonprofit. So I had spent so much just giving, and I didn't really have that much fun. Even when I was in college, right? I was still constantly involved, constantly at meetings, constantly volunteering, not really just enjoying. So I took a travel challenge where I decided that I was going to take one trip every single month the year before my 30th birthday while I was working full-time as an attorney before remote work was a thing. So I would be, descending into a volcano in Iceland on Sunday afternoon and back in time for court on Monday morning. That year, I ended up taking 20 trips to 41 cities across 11 countries, all while still excelling at my job. I was actually named top 40 under 40 by the Naples Herald, and I decided to write my first book at the end of that year. I didn't realize that my first book would become a bestseller on 8 categories on Amazon and win an award. And that was my first proof that I had, that I really needed, that I could be a digital entrepreneur. So I transitioned from practicing law to being a full-time travel writer, blogger, author. I now have 6 books, including my most recent book, 12 Trips in 12 Months, which won 2 book awards and was featured in Hudson Airport Booksellers this summer. I'm writing now the sequel to that book. I have like pages due, and this is the most put together you'll see me in the next 2 months as I'm in hermit mode, just trying to crank out the next book. I also have 6 travel journalism awards, National Travel Journalism Awards. I've written for outlets like National Geographic, Time Magazine, Photos Travel. I'm currently the editor for Lonely Planet's Central America guidebooks. And so I am somebody who's very aware of what it's like to be an overachiever, to be stretched thin, to be covering a lot of bases on your own. I'm a solo traveler. I live alone. So I do all of this on my own. And when I shared this with the chapter, what I hope that other Greek women who I'm sure are on this same path, who I know are going to be multi-passionate, highly ambitious, highly achieving women, because that is who we have. You can see them represented here in this room alone. You hopefully learn how to find joy along the way, how to find self-worth beyond your trophies and your achievements, and how to set yourself up for sustainable, continued success. So some of the ways that I talk about this in my presentations for Greek University, I have a talk about how to take your own challenge and how to achieve something big by way of a challenge. So a way that this could apply to your organization would be, let's say that you really want to rock recruitment this year because you've been low on numbers, or you really want to raise a certain amount of money for your fundraiser, for your philanthropy. This is something that we can work together so that we can achieve achievable goals and get everybody on the same page and have kind of these milestones and have everybody excited about getting to the end of this challenge. I also talk about how you can use the digital space to build your own brand, which is what I have done. I've been able to be a full-time travel writer, right? Which people ask me all the time, how do you make money doing that? I was able to surpass my attorney income within 1 year of quitting my job. And I have been doing this full time for the last 7 years. So I can talk to students who are using social media about how to use it responsibly, how to use it to grow your chapter, and how to use it to build your business connections so that you can actually, because in any field that you're in, social media is helping you be seen, it's helping you be visible, it's helping you be a thought leader. And so I can help students better position themselves to do that. And finally, I have a topic on how to make connections with people who are different from you, drawing from my over 50 countries visited solo, and how you can connect with people even from different cultural backgrounds. So it was really an honor to be able to participate in this book and contribute to this chapter. I hope that it's helpful for you. And thank you to the Greek U team for having me.
Wow, what a powerhouse, Jen. Kudos to what you built. That's just absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And so next we're going to talk a little bit about chapter 12 with Priscilla Maria Gutierrez, Unique and Unapologetic, How to Own Your Authenticity in College and Beyond. Tell us more, Priscilla.
I'm honored to do so. And Jen, how do I follow up from that? My God. And not even just Jen, but just all the amazing, phenomenal women that have spoken so far. And I really feel like I resonate with at least one part of each person's share, especially you, Brittany. You had mentioned that your college years were really, really challenging. I can completely relate. And then also, Jen, you mentioned, okay, you can achieve X, Y, and Z, but are you actually fulfilled? Are you happy? And so my chapter focuses on authenticity and being unapologetically authentic. So my chapter is very vulnerable. I lead by example. So I share very intimate parts of my experience as a college student at Johns Hopkins and some of the trials and tribulations that I survived. And I do that not to just trauma dump on students and whoever's reading, but purposefully, because I know that there's someone like my younger version that really needs to hear and read that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to maybe choose a different career than what your parents think. It's okay to be yourself. And so I really emphasize not only the importance of authenticity, but the cost of being inauthentic. So I was inauthentic for probably most of my adulthood before my healing journey, in the sense that I really didn't know who I was, what my core values were, and what type of life I wanted to claim. And so this really touches on how you cannot achieve your way out of trauma. So I believe, Erica, you mentioned how any unresolved wounds or traumas that you're carrying, they don't disappear, they expand and they manifest in many different ways. And I also emphasize that being authentic is truly an act of self-love. And so why does this matter? Because college is a really special but challenging time for many people. And so in my talks, I really emphasize that it's okay to own your resilience, to seek support. I wish when I was that age that I had the wisdom that I have now. But I'm thankful for each experience. And I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to share some of those experiences in this book. So I look forward to hopefully connecting with some students on campuses nationwide. My next talk is actually going to be at Johns Hopkins next month. So truly a full circle moment. And shout out my Professor Tish, because she told me at our annual conference to write down my speaking goals. And I wrote down, I wanted to speak at Hopkins, how much I wanted to get paid, by when I wanted it to happen. And it happened exactly as I wrote it. So thank you, Tish. Read her chapter. Like she said, like she knows what she's talking about. So thank you so much.
That is fantastic, Priscilla. And she also told me, by the way, her goal of speaking at Johns Hopkins.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that we were able to do it. I know that Dr. Jason Merriweather got to speak there. And I told Priscilla, I said, "You're next, by the way." And sure enough, yep, that happened. So hers is chapter 12, Unique and Unapologetic, How to Own Your Authenticity in College and Beyond. We also have a few authors that would have loved to have been here with us today. They actually sent in videos. So we're going to share some of their videos so that way they can be a part of our session here today. And chapter 1 is the foundation of self-love, accepting yourself without conditions. So here is Brandy Wilson Edwards. If we can get that to play. Let's see if we can get this to play. Oh, it's stuck. Let's see. Let's try this one more time. Sometimes the technology doesn't exactly work with us the way that we expected, but we're going to give it one more shot and see if we can get Brandy's video to play. It was stuck. Maybe because we have too many people online. I don't know. We'll see. Let's figure this out. Here we go. Let's try one more time. Come on, Brandy, play. There we go.
You cannot hate yourself into loving yourself, but you can consciously choose to love yourself while you work on yourself. That means that you love yourself during the work, not after it. It means that you choose to love yourself while you were trying, while you were showing up, while you were putting in effort, and not only once you achieve something. It's easy to attach conditions to self-love and self-acceptance. But what happens when the actions that you took to get to a certain place in life, if you stop doing something, or life happens, or a circumstance or a challenge happens that can derail you from that progress? That's what I mean when I say love yourself while you work on yourself, and not having conditions to your self-love. Because self-love is a choice. It's something that you have to choose every single day. It's a journey. It's not a destination. There's always ways that you can work on loving yourself more, being kind to yourself, giving yourself compassion that you freely, I imagine, give to other people. But choosing to love yourself while you work on yourself and detach from outcomes and arbitrary goals of thinking that you will feel lovable or worthy or whatever type of feeling that you are searching for once you achieve something. And I say love yourself while you work on yourself because it's not about, self-love is not about settling or being complacent and just thinking, this is exactly who I am and I have no room for improvement. I believe that you have unlimited potential. You can always step into the most confident and courageous version of yourself. There are always ways that we can improve. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that you wait until you improve something specific, until you start to feel good about yourself. We are all a work in progress. You can be a work in progress while simultaneously being a masterpiece, because you are. And loving yourself while you work on yourself is a decision. It means that you are putting an effort to feel better about yourself in whatever way that that looks like for you, but choosing to love yourself in the moment, not placing conditions on when you will love yourself. A few different ways that you can layer on your confidence is one, dopamine dressing. While your mindset is your biggest asset, and I'm sure you're going to hear amazing things from women today about affirmations and positive statements. I wrote about that in my chapter as well. Your mindset is very powerful, but things that you can do outside of those positive thoughts, which are very important, is something I call dopamine dressing. It's putting on your favorite clothes, getting dressed up in things that make you feel good, that make you feel fabulous, that make you feel like the most confident version of yourself. And for me, my power color is pink. I'm obsessed with it. I love it. It makes me feel good. I wear it all of the time. So dopamine dressing is a way that you can layer on your confidence, and then you might act differently when you feel better about yourself in however you choose to do dopamine dressing. Another way that you can prioritize self-love, an action that you can take, is to stop waiting for a special occasion. Stop waiting for a special occasion to use those favorite things that bring you joy, whether it's the journal that you're saving to start until a certain time in your life, or maybe you have a discontinued lipstick or perfume or makeup. I know we all can resonate with that. I feel like at different times. This is my favorite pink lipstick. It is discontinued. It has not stopped me from wearing it every day. I used to save things for a special occasion, but this is your kind of reminder that you woke up this morning. And that is a beautiful gift that is taken from people every single day. So treat every single day as a special occasion and stop saving things. Another way that you can practice self-love is to act as if. Your mind is powerful, and choosing to be kind to yourself and have empowering thoughts is great, but you can also act as if. What would that version of yourself that loved herself more do? What would she think? How would she act? What decision would she make in this particular scenario that you might be presented with? Acting as if, and using that inspiration to take inspired action, to gradually work on loving yourself more. And in kind of wrapping up the foundations of self-love, choosing to accept yourself without conditions is so important that you realize you take control of your life with your choices. And if you can choose to doubt yourself, you can also choose to believe in yourself. If you can choose to be unkind to yourself, you can also choose to be kind to yourself. We all have an inner critic. I call it the inner mean girl. But you also have an inner cheerleader that desperately wants to be heard, that wants you to understand how much you are loved, how worthy you are, how amazing you are. So do your best to love yourself while you work on yourself. This takes intention. It takes practice. But I am proof that it's possible. I struggled with self-love for decades, and it was gradual, but choosing to notice my thoughts, redirect my attention to something more empowering, choosing to take control of my life with my choices, with the actions that I was taking. And always know that you can have empowering actions and you can have disempowering actions. You can have empowering thoughts and you can have disempowering thoughts. And that's how you take control of your life with your choices. Choosing what you think about, choosing how you are going to feel about yourself, and choosing to love yourself while you work on yourself. My name is Brandy Wilson Edwards, and I look forward to hearing all of the amazing things that you have to say after you read our book with all of these amazing women.
Fantastic. Absolutely incredible. Thank you, Brandy, for sharing that. That's absolutely incredible. The next one that we have is Chapter 10, Accountability as Love. And this is done by Carlin Conaway. Carlin, let us know what you think.
About the chapter that I wrote for the most recent From Letters to Leaders book, and that chapter is titled Accountability as Love. I'm sorry I couldn't join you all today, but I am actually in Scotland on a study abroad trip right now. So for my chapter, I start with an opening quote that actually kind of inspired this chapter for me, and it was from a TEDx talk given by Tafadzwa Bete Sasa, and it has to do with looking at accountability, but looking at accountability through a lens of love. So first I wanted to start by sharing a little bit about my personal leadership journey. So I joined the sorority Alpha Delta Pi at Virginia Tech back in 2007. I was drawn to the sorority because of the various leadership opportunities that were available. I ended up serving as the finance vice president, followed by the president. One of the things I found that I struggled with, specifically while I was president, was the responsibility of holding my sisters accountable for their actions. In Alpha Delta Pi, we had a standards committee that was comprised of myself as the president, the chapter advisor, as well as the standards chair, and their role was required to enforce rules. It was very difficult for me at first to kind of find that balance between leadership as well as personal relationships that I had with my sisters. However, the experiences that I gained through serving on the standards committee really helped shape my personal growth in leadership. So as I mentioned before, I was inspired by this TEDx talk, and what Tafadzwa discusses in the TEDx talk is that accountability should be approached with kindness, but also firmness. And she presents two questions that should be asked when looking at accountability and having a tough conversation with someone. And those two questions are, what happened and what's the plan? So what happened? You ask the individual to share their perspective, avoiding assumptions or judgments, encouraging honesty and ownership, and making sure keeping in mind tone and delivery. An empathetic approach leads to a lot of better outcomes. The second question, what's the plan, kind of moves beyond the just, I'll do it better next time, or I'll do better next time. It encourages self-reflection as well as specific action steps that can be taken to ensure maybe those behaviors don't occur in the future. Leaders should follow up and support individuals in implementing these plans that they have outlined for themselves. So in the chapter, I present a case study, and here's kind of a brief summary of it. Rachel, a sorority member, violates the code of conduct. A standards committee is held, and there are two approaches that can be considered in responding to Rachel and her actions. One is a supportive but firm accountability, and the other is a judgmental and punitive approach. So let's say we decide to take the supportive approach using those two questions as kind of our framework. What happened? Rachel shares her side openly without fear. She may reveal some underlying stressors that caused her to display maybe some actions that didn't align with the values of the sorority, and she takes responsibility and acknowledges impact. The likelihood of that occurring is maybe a little bit higher when we're giving her the opportunity to kind of share her side without any judgment that is presented. What's the plan? We give Rachel the chance to identify the steps to improve, maybe looking at some academic planning, counseling, and then just kind of considering some social choices that maybe she needs to make. Giving her an opportunity to demonstrate a commitment to change. The standards committee offers support while still maintaining those expectations. By presenting these two questions and allowing Rachel to answer them, maybe we're going to have a little bit more of a positive outcome. Now let's consider the alternative approach. If we were to use those two questions, or ignore using those two questions, and immediately start by presenting the case against Rachel with accusations and potentially immediate punishment, it might put her on the defensive. And that's a missed opportunity to understand what are some of those underlying causes that maybe are causing her to act in a way that's not typical for her and maybe are signs of help. So Rachel might feel isolated rather than supported as she leaves that meeting, and that could have long-term impacts on her. So when we kind of wrap this all up, again, we want to look at a balance of kindness and firmness. Consequences are necessary, but should be paired with guidance. Accountability should build trust and not break it. So the responsibility of the leader is to both foster responsibility as well as personal growth. So just some final thoughts. Looking back, I know that I could have applied this approach better as a sorority leader. Obviously, it's easy in hindsight, but it's something that I definitely learned from because I do see the value that accountability done right can foster very strong relationships. And this is a skill that has really helped me in my leadership roles throughout life, but it can also help in all aspects of life as well. So that brings me to the end. I just want to thank you all for listening to this information about my chapter, and I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Carlin. I was so happy that you wrote the chapter on accountability. I feel like today's college students really struggle with that in their chapters, and so I thought that was really, really helpful. And finally, definitely another really important piece of this book is the conclusion written by Dr. Kim Bullington. She works for Old Dominion University, and her conclusion is called "Continuing the Journey: Empowering Yourself and Others Beyond College."
Hello, I am so sorry that I cannot join you in person, but I'm currently in Scotland helping lead a study abroad class. Today, I'd like to talk about my book chapter, which is the conclusion of the book. The chapter is Empowering Yourself Beyond College, Making the Most of Your Network. This is something that affects us all as we transition from college life into what we often call the real world. It's a journey that can feel overwhelming, but I'm here to tell you that you're more prepared than you might think. Let's start with a reality check. The moment you graduate is both exciting and terrifying. Suddenly, the structured life you've known throughout your education starts to fade away. You're facing big decisions about your career, where to live, and how to build your new adult life. And you know what? It's completely normal. I want to share something important. It's what we call the post-graduation blues, and it's very real. You've just achieved this amazing milestone you worked toward for 4 years or more. I get it. But once the celebration ends, you might feel a bit lost. Some of you might be thinking, I should have had my whole life figured out by now. But here's the secret. You don't need to have it all planned out. Instead, think smaller. Focus on what you need for next month, the next year. It can be simple as that. As my friend likes to say, focus on being needy, not wanty. At least at first. You can be wanty later. Now let's talk about your greatest asset, your network. Throughout college, you've actually been building something incredible without even realizing it, probably. Through your sorority, your classes, your activities, you've created connections that can help launch your professional life. Your sorority sisters aren't just your bridesmaids-to-be. They're future professionals in various fields who can connect you with opportunities. Your chapter advisors, they're experienced professionals with vast networks of their own. Look at this list. Who's on it that you can leverage? And leveraging isn't bad. You've already made the connections. But here's where many of us, especially women, often struggle, and it's self-promotion. Did you know that according to recent research, we won't see gender-based pay equity until 2154? That's why it's crucial to learn how to promote yourself effectively. Yes, it feels uncomfortable at first, but it's essential for your professional growth. Your personal brand matters too. Think about what Jeff Bezos said. Your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. Build your LinkedIn profile. Maybe create a personal website. Make it clear who you are and what you bring to the table. Here's a simple formula for a personal mission statement. It's simple but powerful. Here's the formula. I will, action, or audience, by, skills, to, result, or goal. This becomes your professional compass, helping you articulate your value during job searches and interviews. For me, I am a current assistant professor of higher education, and this is my personal mission statement. I will serve as an empathetic leader for aspiring professionals by providing growth opportunities to enhance the field. But remember, this journey isn't just about taking, it's about giving too. Share your knowledge and experience with others. When someone in your network asks for help, give it freely. I'll let you in on a little secret. As someone who's helped others network, it feels so amazing to know you've helped someone land their dream job, or at least their first job, right? Most importantly, remember this. Everything you needed to know, you largely learned in college. Those team projects, they taught you collaboration. Recruitment, that was networking practice. Running chapter meetings, leadership training. You've been preparing for this transition all along, and you're more ready than you know. As you move forward, remember 3 key things. Be kind to yourself. This transition is a marathon, not a sprint. Stay positive. Reframe challenges as opportunities. Use and share your network. Success is rarely achieved alone. The post-college journey might feel daunting, but you're not starting from scratch. You're building on a foundation you've already created, your sorority network, your college connections. They're all tools for your success and empowerment. So as you step into this new chapter of life, remember, you've got this. Yes, you'll probably stumble sometimes, but that's part of the journey. Your network is there to help you up, dust you off, and point you back in the right direction. Thank you for your time today. Remember, as I always say, this isn't 4 years, it's for life. Make the most of it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Kim Bullington. I appreciate all of that. And that brings us to the conclusion of our session here today. Anybody have any closing thoughts, any closing ideas you want to wrap up with? I see Professor Tish is always ready to go. What are you thinking, Tish?
Did any of our advisors have any conversation, any questions that we can answer before we wrap up?
Yes, let
We'd
us
love
know.
to
Jamie,
entertain any
Doris,
questions
any
at
of
this
our
time.
advisors, if you have any questions, we would love to answer them for you live. I'll make sure that I put a link to our book in the comments as well, in case
I will
anybody
say
wants to
this.
go and pick it
Can you
up.
guys hear me? I'm sorry. Can you all hear me?
Sure.
For our advisors, I'm assuming that our advisors on the Zoom are Jamie and Doris. So we will say this. If you feel, Lucas, if you feel that any of us can, that your communities on campus would benefit by having us come speak, you get 50 free copies of that book. Okay. So that is just a great incentive that we like to throw in when you book some Greek U speakers. So if you feel any community, whether it's fraternity, sorority related, whether it's Women's Center, whether it's First Gen, whether it is diverse student populations, whether it's retreats over the summer or even fall. There's a gamut of communities that would benefit from having any of these fantastic speakers come, from the high energetic to those that touch the heart, like I know of Priscilla's sessions. So that's just a little added benefit that you get when you book us. So keep that in mind moving forward. And we just thank you guys so much for coming on, and let's continue to just pump that book up and celebrate it, because that's exactly what it is.
Fantastic. Any other thoughts as we wrap up? This is fantastic. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much to everybody who attended here live. Thank you to the speakers at Greek University. Feel free to reach out to any of us if you'd like to see us on your campus. We certainly would love to do that, whether that be this spring, over the summer, or the fall semester. Just reach out to me. My email address is bookings@greekuniversity.org. I'm happy to chat and talk to you a little bit more about your campus needs. And we appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for being with us here today. We'll see everybody on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye. We appreciate you.